a hammer, you need to stand up and sing. If you don't own a hammer, you can wait for the second verse. Assumption that everybody has one. Right there, with that song, just like that. Let me tell you something. I have no idea what the heck this means, but apparently we're a Pokestop. Cameron tried to explain it to me before the service, and all I know are these strange little beings with strange names can be captured on your phone, and it has become a craze. I think maybe we ought to start a Spirit Go app, Denise. You know what I'm saying? But at any rate, if you see the youngins, or the people who are 35 and 40, roaming the hallway doing this, they're probably capturing something. But it's kind of wonderful that we're a Pokestop. And since we're talking about phones, you know I'm going to talk to you about Wi-Fi, but before I talk to you about Wi-Fi, I think we ought to dub this Selfie Sunday. I think we just should. Do you know that we get a lot of attention on Facebook every time any one of you puts a picture? So I'm going to put a picture of me being really happy. Right? This is what we do at Unity of Music City. We be happy. Y'all take a selfie of yourself today and post it, but do me a favor. Don't post it during the service because we need the bandwidth, all right? So please turn off your Wi-Fi if you can and take a selfie. What else have I got going on? You know what? Let's stand up and sing a song. What do you think? What are we singing? We Are One. You know this song. We are one with God and one with each other. Everyone we meet is our sister and brother. You are you and I me. We're all members, one family, singing harmony, harmony. We words of that song just a little bit, JD, to you be you and I'll be just a little off. But that's sometimes the way I feel. That would be me being me. Thank you, Ryan. How quickly that came to his mind, I don't know. I want to talk to you about a couple things coming up this week, just really briefly. This Wednesday, of course, we've got the new Lunch Bunch book that's that group has started, 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life by Karen Armstrong. I'm hearing a lot of great things about that book, certainly. So if you've got some time there in the middle of the day on Wednesday, join the Lunch Bunch crew. There is a short initiation that they will put you through. It's not painful, but it should be fine. Wednesday evening classes will begin again August 3rd, so those are off for right now, but put it on your calendar that they're coming back. This Friday evening from 6:30 to 9, Frank Castellano will be here. You all know Frank, right? You know what I love about Frank? If you walk up to Frank and you say, "Frank, you're awesome," he'll go, "I know." Doesn't he? You just love being around someone like that. Well, Frank is an incredibly gifted spiritual being. Look who walked in the door! Frank, you're awesome. Thank you. That's Frank. So this Friday night, 6:30 to 9, it's going to be an informal discussion of spiritual questions. Bring a dish to share for a potluck. It'll be an informal gathering, but let me tell you, Frank's got some wisdom flowing in and through and of him. So you'll want to come and join folks for that. This week is the Maori Healing Sessions. This Wednesday and Thursday there are Maori Healing Sessions. The Maori folks will be here. If nothing else, you need to come by and see the Maori tattoos or grab the bicep of that one really big dude or something. But they do their whammy jammy on you and they, heal you. So if you got anything going on, I suggest you show up. You can sign up for those on the website. It seems like there was one other thing I was going to say, and I have oh yeah, we've got a special music guest today. Thank you, Judy. Grammy Award winning Barbara Bailey Hutchinson is with us today in the house. You will be hearing from her later. I had the privilege of listening to the rehearsal. You're going to enjoy it. Just trust me, she's got some CDs out there, so be sure to take a little bit of Barbara home with you, okay? B, come on up. It's time for the sacred part of our service, and please lead us in our sacred reading.
Good morning, beautiful people. Will the other prayer chaplains please stand? Know that these lovely, loving chaplains are here to pray with you. Please don't be shy. If you feel the need for prayer, we all do sometimes, just ask. Thank you. Our sacred readings are taken from Turning to One Another, Simple Conversations to Restore Hope to the Future by Margaret J. Wheatley. Today's reading is called Self-Portrait by David White. The affirmation, I am willing to know myself as I am getting to know you. Together. I am willing to know myself as I am getting to know you. Self-Portrait by David White. It doesn't interest me if there is one God or many gods. I want to know if you belong or feel abandoned. I want to know if you know despair or can see it in others. I want to know if you are prepared to live in the world with its harsh need to change you, and if you can look back with firm eyes saying, this is where I stand. I want to know if you know how to melt into that fierce heat of living, falling toward the center of your being, toward the center of your longing. I want to know if you are willing to live day by day with the consequence of love and the bitter, unwanted passion of defeat. I have heard of that fierce embrace. Even the gods speak of God. Affirm with me once more. I am willing to know myself as I am getting to know you.
So I ask that you just take a breath and settle into your seat. And just take in a deep breath. And another deep breath. And as you're breathing, scan your physical body. And check and see if there is any place in your physical body that needs attention this morning. And take in another deep breath and send that breath to your place in your body that may need attention now. And then scan your mind for a moment. And is there anything that you brought in here today that might cause you a little stress or worry that you're willing to let go of in this moment? And so just breathe that out. And then as you take in another deep breath, knowing that you're filling up with the love and light that is God, that is you. In this very moment, I am willing to know myself. As I sit or stand in this moment, I am willing to know myself. In the silence, in the silence. To know myself as I am getting to know you. I am willing to know myself as I am getting to know you. And so draw to mind someone that you might want to know better, that you might want to have a deeper understanding of what makes them tick, of why they feel the way they feel about certain things. And as you see that person in your mind's eye, affirming again, I am willing to know myself as I am getting to know you. Heart to heart, spirit to spirit.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sit up here.
My spirit is kind of moved already. I have found that the universe is unfolding as it should. That's kind of a motto of mine. And it was kind of eerie to have you do the reading called Self-Portrait. I am retiring from being a full-time touring musician in August. I am a portrait painter. And there are several of my self-portraits on CD covers out there that I've painted. And David White, I just discovered this week and was completely taken by him and his poetry. And so I'm here. I'm supposed to be here.
Yes, you are.
I'm supposed to be here. So thank you for having me here today. I kind of gave rein to Judy and said, here are some songs I don't know will fit. I'm so happy that you picked this one. It's a song that I would like to retire. And haven't been able to do that yet, but I'm hoping I will soon. Can you turn the guitar down a little bit, please? Thank you. Thank you, Susan.
read it in the news today. They're trying to pass a law to say we don't have the right to love everyone the way we want. Who's to say what they believe is gonna be what's right for me and you? Maybe they forgot it's love. It's love we're speaking of. It's love. If I was born left-handed, or if my eyes were blue, would it make a difference what I mean to you? Will we see before we reach the point of no return? Intolerance won't teach us the lesson we must learn. It's love. It's love. We're speaking love. It's love. Oh, it's love. It fills us with the light by the grace of God. The greatest gift in life is love. It brings us to our knees. Faith and hope are stronger, greater than these. It's love. Fundamental ignorance based on religious fear will never get us anywhere. Certainly no nearer to the one whose touch created us and makes us all the same. Whenever two or more of you are gathered in the name, it's love. It's love. We're speaking love. It's love. Us to the light by the grace of God. The greatest gift in life is love. It brings us to our knees. Faith and hope are strong, but greater than these. It's love. It's love.
That was so perfect. Thank you so much. When you sent some of that information to Judy and I listened to that, you don't even know what happened here last Sunday, so I'm going to tell you why it's so perfect. If you were here last Sunday, you know that we, during the weekend, spent time in a peace circle on Saturday with a very fundamental church that has a gay minister. And on Sunday, he stood up here with me, and we shared the stage, and he told his story. Know that I want to applaud all of you who were here, and especially those of you that reached out to him, because that's part of his healing. And that's what we're here for. We're here to witness other people needing to say what they need to say so that they can be healed, because it's love. It's what love would do. All of us don't have the same stories. But all of us at the core of our being have had people that did not accept us for one reason or another because of, I'm left-handed. I have different color eyes than you. I have a different color skin than you. I have some sort of a disease and you don't know how to be with me. I have, who knows? think about that in our world. I have a mental illness. I think about working all the years that you've worked, where you've worked. And there's so many reasons that we, as people, separate ourselves. But I also want to remind you of why we're doing what we're doing this year. Because our goal is we choose peace. And we are one. And we don't always do that right here. Does that make sense? Because we're human beings. Look at somebody beside you and say, I'm a human being. Like they don't know and you don't know, right? Most of the time, I'm a human being, yes. And sometimes I'm having to get to know myself deeper as I'm getting to know you. Hence why we're talking about what we're talking about today. Because when we first started in January talking about these peace circles that we were having with Tony's church, there were a few people that were rearing up a little bit. In here and over there. And that's okay. Because when we ask people to come together with people that they know are not going to necessarily always agree with the same things, we're asking a lot. We're asking a lot. But what I want to share with you is peace is not going to happen in our world till we're willing to have those conversations. It's not. It's never going to. So, what would it mean to get to know you? Crystal told me her deepest desire was to put a picture of Anna and the king up here, which I'd have been fine with. She'd have done that. And if you're so young you don't know what that is, that's the king and I. Those people are probably on upstairs in the youth department that don't know what that is. But that story was written in 1944.
Yeah.
And the book was called Anna and the King of Siam. And she was a governess that was hired to come in to his court and teach the children, but she taught everybody. And in the process of her being the teacher, she learned so much about that culture. If you remember the end of the story, her and the king ended up falling in love, but he believed in polygamy. He had many wives. Now think about how that would feel to you, ladies. Whoop. And I start with that story as a big deal, okay? Because there are those things that are deal breakers in our lives, right? It's like, I ain't going across that line, right? But are you willing to talk to somebody? Even and understand how they came to be the way they are. Because we as human beings, our first reaction is, oh, you stay way over there. Because I don't want any of that rubbing off on me, right? I ain't doing none of that. And for us to really be peace, we have to have the hard conversations. Again, last week, I was so moved by the husband and wife, and I was hoping we might see them again, and they may come back many different times. But when they sat in the circle on Saturday and introduced themselves, she used to be a radical Muslim, and he's a Republican. Okay, and so you're going, wow, how did they even start a conversation? How? I would love to talk to them about how all that happened. But I bet that we have couples sitting here today that may have some differences in beliefs. We do. Believe it or not, today is our 17th anniversary. And some of you were around when we had what we called a Holy Union back in those days before they let you really do anything, but we were anyway. It didn't make any difference. We didn't care what they called it. It was the hottest day of the world that had ever been. Those of you that were there remember all of us sweating for days and days. And some people that I've talked with said, how have two Aries come together in the same home and survive? And you're still alive. And you're still together. We don't always agree. And that's okay. There's the paradigm shift for all of us in our world. We don't have to agree with everybody, but we can be peaceful with everybody as we're getting to know them. And have you ever noticed when you're sitting and talking with someone and all of a sudden that first moment that you realize they don't agree or don't believe the same thing you believe? Have you ever wondered what kind of gyrations you might be going through and what they might see? Several of us that are sitting in this room, I know, have the label of therapist or have worked in that realm with people because we are taught don't let them see that. Right? If you're sitting with someone and they're showing you and they're talking about their story, don't look alarmed. Because they're going to quit sharing. Right? In fact, when I was working on my master's in psychology, they said if they come in very calmly and sit down and say, "Hi, Denise," and I say, "How can I help you today?" And they say, "I've killed my mother, and she's in a million pieces chopped up in my trunk, and my car's right outside." Go, wow. And case the joint to where the doors are so that you can get out in some nice way. That's why I say wow a lot, because that's the only word you can use in certain stories. It's like, wow. But also pay attention, the second piece, to how you're feeling. Because immediately your own judgments are going to come up. Immediately when somebody says something that this is me and this is who I am, your own stuff comes to the forefront. And are you willing to get to know yourself as you're getting to know someone else? Because that's the reason we don't want to sit with people that are different than us. It's not about them. It's about I'm uncomfortable. Breathe into that for a minute. Yeah. I'm uncomfortable. As I said last week before Tony started speaking, we have this picture on the wall, thank Frank, who got it framed for us. And we say that that's a representation of this beloved community here, this heart. And all the energy that it puts out into the universe and that we receive right back. And what does that really look like when I'm sitting with Deb and she says, "You know what I believe?" And I go,
Because that happens all the time.
It happens a lot, yes, most definitely. But it does happen. Yesterday, your leadership was here. Those of you that don't know, is we take spiritual leadership very, very serious. So serious we sit and laugh about it all the time. But anyway. We were here yesterday because we come in about once a month and we have a training session in circle with each other and we have intimate, long, in-depth conversations about how certain things feel. And we did an experience yesterday that I don't think any of us had a clue what was going to happen, but we took the word kindness and we ran around the circle. And I think by the time we got to Deb, she was like going, "Dear God, y'all are killing me here," because we were all crying. When has someone showed you kindness? Or when have you shown another individual kindness? And you would not believe the deep stories that came out of leadership here. And we were all pretty much sobbing when it was over with. That's what this work is about. Am I really ready to be that kind to another individual? And am I willing to accept that deep kindness from another individual? Because there's a giving and receiving, which is about love that she was singing about. Webster says it's intense feeling of deep affection. I don't know about you, but that just feels like words. How do you even say what love and compassion really is? Charles Fillmore, who is one of the founders of this thing we call a unity movement, his definition is love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere in everybody. There's no buts. You see that? Everywhere in everybody. So I'm going to give you a hard thing to think about for a minute. Friends. And just breathe into that. If you don't know what happened, 80 plus people were shot. Run over by a truck. Many people died. Love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere in everybody. That's hard. Is that not hard? Because I want to, in this moment, go, that's bad. How do I deal with this thing that we so much talk about in New Thought as love and kindness and goodness? And I know it's not just us that talks about it. And how do I continue to be kind and good when I know that there are people out there that their actions are not necessarily that? How do I see goodness and kindness? Charles Fillmore also said in his rendition of the 12 Powers that love is the pure essence of being. It's who you are. I don't necessarily watch news all the time, but I did watch enough to know that there were some people in that event that were so loving, that showed up in a way that they were amazed about themselves when it was over with. It's kind of like a book I read after 9/11, where people were stopping to help people, and they were from different cultures, different places. They were having conversations with people that they would have never stopped to have, but this event happened. Do you realize when something traumatic happens in the world or in your life that you are the pure essence of love? And how do you help yourself remember that when you forget? Because there's the question. There's the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million question. How do I remember when I'm in that place of, oh dear God, I don't know what to do with this? Be love. And what would love do now? Tony used this scripture. If you've been in any classes with me, or if you've ever been in here and I use this scripture, Jesus, the master teacher, was attempting to teach people who were attempting to tell him we have to follow all of these rules. If you want to know anything about all the rules, and I let those go years ago, but if you want to have a fun afternoon, read Leviticus. You can learn all of those rules. They're all there. And have a big old time, because when I think about that, I go, how in the world did anybody follow all of that? I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. But what I can tell you is that when he tried to explain to the Jewish people that they didn't have to do any of that anymore if they would love, they didn't get it. They went, huh? We got to do all this. And he said, no, all you really have to do is love God and love your neighbor as your... Huh. Some of you answered that, and some of you just sat there and went, which is the problem. Which is always the problem. Because I'm getting to know myself as I'm getting to know you. And when you come into my world, this mic is just being really strange. Maybe I just need to use a handheld. That would be probably a much better deal. When you come into my world and you bring in something that I'm not prepared for, you know what I mean by that? Raise teenagers. It happens all the time. Right, Grace? And they bring to you something that you're not expecting. It's like, uh-oh. How am I going to respond to that? No one told me that I was going to have to deal with this one. Uh-oh. And so what I began to understand about my two sons is that I was learning as much about me as I was learning about them. Because I was beginning to learn my own prejudices. Does that make sense? I never thought my child would do that. I'm a school counselor. Do you want to know what it's like as a school counselor to have to go to McGavock High School and sit down with another school counselor and the principal, and they're saying your child will not do his homework? I'm sorry. And Miss Shergan, what do you do for a living? I'm a school counselor. How do you deal with stuff like that? What I wanted to do when I left that meeting was take Austin out into the parking lot and rip a knot in his tail. I'm embarrassing! But that wouldn't have been kind, would it have? No. That wouldn't have been loving. How do we deal with those things that plop into the middle of our world and we didn't know they were going to happen? Do you think the people that were celebrating in France the other day had any idea all of that was going to happen? No. No. But some of them had to drop everything that was going on in their world and become love, compassionate action very quickly. And deal with stuff that they never thought they would ever have to deal with. Wow. That's what this is all about. That's what this means. What do you see? Yay, raw too. How many of you some days know that you could be more compassionate and more loving if all that was not ripping on your brain? But then how do we know what's going on in the world and continue to be loving and compassionate? It's a conundrum, isn't it? I got so excited this morning because I don't always even look at the paper. And I pulled it out because something, yeah, do you ever get those little like nudges? Look at the paper, look at the paper. I'm like, I don't want to. No, look at the paper. I was out feeding my birds and my squirrels and having a wonderful morning as I always do. And it kept saying, look at the paper. So I had to walk out to the street and get the paper and bring it in. And I just kind of threw it in the den. I thought, I'm not going to do that. There's no what's in there and I didn't look at it at all. And it kept plaguing me and plaguing me and plaguing me. And I thought, oh, hey, shut up. I'll look at the paper. Time for Americans to stop running in fear. If you get the paper, you need to read this. And then the next thing it says is, now I got to put my glasses on to read that part. Instead of being afraid, we must develop empathy for others and try to develop an understanding of their points of view. Woohoo! I don't know who wrote this, and I'll eventually figure out, but I want to send them a thank you. Wow! How awesome to know that there's some good something out there, and maybe I can look for that every day. Because I wanted to say, wow, you've been in my birthday. But do we realize that we're all one? Do we? So those of you that have been in this congregation for a while know that we do little experiences sometimes. We're going to do 2 today. The first one is probably... So if you're scared to death, you can go pee right now. That's all I'm saying. The first one is very simple. You're just going to do it right where you are. Second one's going to be a little bit more challenging, so you may want to wait and go pee then.
I really do have to go.
That's good. And those of you who've never been here before, hear me. We love to talk back and forth. So, you know, that's just kind of who we are. We talk back and forth all the time. But you see the word love, and you see the word compassion. And what I want you to do is someone close to you, I want you to talk to that person about what does love have to do with compassion and what does compassion have to do with love? And what am I learning about myself in that whole conversation? Because this is a year-long conversation we're having here as a church, as a spiritual community. So find yourself someone to talk to for about a minute. I am knowing that this is a conversation that we as a spiritual community need to have at a deeper level someday in a circle. Know that this week it was my pleasure and honor to be a presenter at the Social Emotional Learning Conference that is put on every year by Alignment Nashville and also Metro Nashville Public Schools. And we were doing peace circles there. It was rather interesting. The second day we had about half administrators and half teachers and some of them counselors, and there was tension in the room before we even passed the peace stone around. Before we got started the second day, they had brought in a special speaker by the name of, and I'm making sure I say his name right, and I probably will mispronounce it, Dr. Pedro Nogueira. He was from UCLA. He's been in education for years. And the first thing he said is, the worst thing